We would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we meet to share these conversations on the Vegan Compass podcast.
We extend our respect to elders past, present, and emerging, as well as any of our listeners and guests. Hello, and welcome to the Vegan Compass podcast, unveiling truths, inspiring change.
We're your hosts, Rick Allport and Mackenzie Cross.
In each episode, we bring you meaningful conversations with vegan changemakers that remind us progress is possible, even in a world full of bad news.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Vegan Compass podcast. We are really excited for today's episode. We've got a big name from Hollywood, Nina Bergman. Hey, Rick, how are you going today?
I am very good, and we are so happy to have Nina here with us today. Like I was just saying to Nina, I am a little bit of a fanboy, so, it's really cool that we've got Nina on. But let's get straight into it. So, Nina, welcome. And who are you and what do you do?
I work here as an actor. That's how I make my living, the majority of my living. But I am here to be the voice for the voiceless. That's my main job. The other stuff is just to create a platform so I can speak up.
Yeah, amazing. And you're based in LA at the moment, but you're originally from Denmark. You've lived across different countries and cultures. I'm really curious how that sort of shaped your early life and who you've become today.
Oh, wow. I think because I've lived in so many different places and I am a mix. I was born and raised in Denmark, but my dad is Russian, and I traveled Eastern Europe when I was younger and I studied in Russia. So I feel like, the Danes and the Russians are the opposites. The Danes are like the grounded, earthy, honest, modest. The Russians are a little bit like Americans. They're very passionate people. They're great people, but they're very different from Danish people. So I have a little bit of both. And then, I just picked up along the way all the different kind of cultures and what I liked and what I didn't like.
So you like you said, you've lived in many different places. What was there a defining moment when things clicked for you, or was it like a more gradual awakening about the plight of animals?
I knew since I was a little kid that it was like I could hear them. I was the person that if the dog was home alone in a building, I could hear it bark all day. I was the kind of girl that if I saw a dove with a broken wing, I would try to bring it home. I just had an instinct, I think that most of us do, but we're taught not to. I just wanted to instantly protect and take care of those little creatures. I feel that's natural. So I never thought about it because I don't know anything different.
Yeah, I really related to, I saw a video you shared on Instagram from your TEDx talk about how you were exposed to fishing with your dad when you were younger. And I had the exact same experience where I would throw the fish back. So funny.
I think a lot of us have it, but we just don't maybe act on it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with society and society's conventions and what has been pushed into us from a young age. And again, our parents didn't know any better because it's just like a cultural thing that's happened the whole way through. And the whole thing about, you've got to eat meat to be strong and you've got to, this is what you have to do. And it's only later when some people start connecting the dots and going, hang on, no, I don't need to do this anymore. So, yeah, it's really interesting that some people do wake up and some people don't.
Yeah. I'm really curious, when did you actually go vegan and what was that catalyst for you?
Well, I was a vegetarian at a pretty young age, but I did not become vegan until I started doing undercover work because I thought, well, I mean, we're just getting the milk from the cow. I mean, how bad is it, right? And the eggs, they pluck them out, and they just they're just lying there. So I mean, I didn't, I didn't think it was that bad. And then when I started doing undercover work, I learned from my experience, I think the most cruel industry there is the dairy industry. It is, to me, insanity what happens behind closed doors, all over the world, not just, I mean, like Australia is a very forward thinking country. Denmark is a very forward thinking country. But when it comes to especially pigs, we have a lot of pigs in Denmark. I mean, it's just, there's complete disconnect the way we treat the animals. So yeah, when I did the undercover work and I watched them rip the mom, the babies away, and they would rape the cows and force impregnate them, and the things that they would do to get more milk, burn their uteruses. I mean, all of the tricks that they did in their lives, I was like, I mean, this is like World War II all over. It didn't stop. It just happens behind closed doors in the dairy farms now.
So when did you start doing your undercover work?
Well, I started when I was young because I had 3 older brothers, and they worked for Greenpeace. And one of them was, both of them, all of them were kind of like vegans, and they were, kind of hippies, so to speak, and they were just forward thinking. So they would, they were part of Greenpeace. They were thinking, forward thinking. I was, taught to have one of those spray cans, green spray cans. So when people wore fur, I was taught you spray them with green paint. That's what you do, right?
That's so radical. I love it.
So, I was like, and then I had a mom who was a feminist. So, I was always doing banners and going to marches. And when Denmark had their first McDonald's, we would go smash the windows. I mean, that's just kind of what you did.
Oh, I love it. Have you ever listened to the podcast? And I say this all the time: Radicals and Revolutionaries. It's amazing when they talk about all these things that, spraying the fur, smashing the windows, and raiding laboratories, and you just go, yeah, make animal rights radical again. I love it. But now, so did this shift in your life? Did this isolate you from people in your life, or were there any surprising reactions from other people you knew?
Well, I was a complete outsider. I didn't go to school for a while because I thought I was so ugly. I had braces, on my teeth. I had glasses. I had, at 10, I had 2 moms. My brothers were older than me. They left. I was a ballerina, always working, and I was, didn't want to eat animals. And my mom would sew my clothes, and, I was just complete outsider, like, so I just, maybe that's why I connected to the animals, because I, from a young age, imaginary friends, and the animals were the only ones that I could connect to, because I just was so misunderstood, because I felt everything deeply as a young girl, and I just didn't have anyone, that really understood me, because I was a super sensitive kid. I took on the whole world.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate to that too. I was vegan through high school, and I think the only one. So yeah, it was tough sometimes, but you just don't have a choice but to get through it.
Suck it up.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden you're the cool kid, and I'm like, I don't understand, because when I look in the mirror, I still see that little girl with the glasses and braces all around my head, and no one wanted to be my friend, and I was sitting by myself, and I'm just like, I feel exactly the same.
Aww.
So it's always weird to me that all of a sudden now you're the cool kid, and I'm like, what? I didn't change. I've just been doing the same thing the whole time, and then somehow it just changed.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So you said you didn't go to school for quite a while. When did you go? Did you go back into school before?
Yeah, because I was always working. I was always doing, dance jobs, recitals. And then I had 3 brothers that were a lot older, and they were like super brains. They could like read before they went to school. So my mom was like, there's something wrong with this girl. Like, why can't she read at the age of 5? Why can't she do math? Like, what's wrong with her? I remember she would sit and like homeschool me, because, I wasn't an academic, I was more about, I wanted to be out in nature and I just wanted to be with animals, really. That was my happy place. I got a horse at 12. So that was like, my guinea pigs were my best friends growing up.
Oh,
They're my closest friends.
that's so sweet.
Oh, guinea pigs are so
I love
cute.
them.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say something. I lost my train of thought. Oh, never mind.
That's all right. So our listeners are mostly Australian. So for anyone who is just discovering you through our podcast today, what are some of the films that you're most known for?
I do a lot of action movies, and I'm thinking about what my little sister she would send me pictures of, because she's out over there. And I know that they had billboards and post like video games. I do that too on Battery in Call of Duty. And I did a movie called Hell Hath No Fury that I'm starring in. That's over there. I did a movie called Cold Meat. That's a thriller that's over there. I've did Chief of Station. I just did, I think it's out today actually, Death Stalker, where I did the end credit song. Slash, the guitar player from Guns N' Roses, is on there too. And I'm acting in the movie. And it's a homage for 80s, like one of those comic book characters called Death Stalker. So it's very like splatter, blood. It's fantasy. It's fun if you're into that.
Sounds like I would actually watch it. So
yeah, like it's a really fun one, and I did the end credit song. I wrote it and performed it, and
cool.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll touch a little bit more on your singing and songwriting a little bit later, but I wanted to stay on your acting for a minute. As you said, these are very action-packed roles, and I believe you do all of your own stunts as well. So can you tell us about that?
yeah, I try to do all of my own stunts. I mean, there's a couple that where they wouldn't let me. I did a couple of movies in Bulgaria. I did one called Doom, based on a video game too, and I did one called The Car, that's based on Christine, 1970s like remake, a car. And I remember I had to be on fire. They would let me like my arm be on fire, but they wouldn't let me actually burn to death. I had to have
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, it's kind of nice of them that they didn't want you to burn to death. Wow.
yeah, so there was like one stunt where they would let, I could have my arm on fire. They agreed to that, but they wouldn't actually light me on fire. And then that was The Car. And then for the Doom and Annihilation, there's a monster, as of course there is, in Doom. And the monster takes me all the way up, this giant monster, and he thrashes me down. It's wire work. I've done wire work, but they just, because I'm a liability. If anything did happen, then they're out. So it wasn't that I couldn't. They just was like, Nina, you're not going to do that fall. You're stunt double. So, but I try to do all of my own stunts. I love doing stunts. I love to train. I've always been super physical and active.
Yeah, you have a very fit looking physique, and I think we'll touch on that a little bit later as well. But yeah, it's absolutely amazing and very fascinating for someone who doesn't know much about Hollywood and acting in movies.
Well, I like the fact that they didn't want you to be thrown to the ground because you could have had things happen to you, but they're quite happy for somebody else to be thrown to the ground. So.
Well, if that stunt person breaks anything, the movie can't go on. If they take me in the monster, on wire, it's wire work. So they lift you up. So you wear these wires, if you don't know, and they lift you all up, and then, you can't see them. They'll basically Photoshop them out in the movie, and then they let you go. Like if something happened to me, the shoot stops.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
They're going to lose so much money. I mean, those bigger movies, these are Universal movies, it's all about money.
Yeah,
at
for
the
sure.
end of the day. Yeah, so I'm a liability, so they got to protect me.
Hey, a quick break from the episode to let you know that the Vegan Compass podcast now has merch.
You can finally rep the show with our new tees, hoodies, tote bags, and mugs.
It's the perfect way to support the show and spark a few conversations.
Just head to our website or check the link in the show notes to grab yours today.
All right, back to the episode.
So, have you ever been made to feel like veganism or your values would compromise any roles or opportunities that have come your way?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, I can't tell you how many times that have happened, and um, where I, had to define how I wanted to do it, because I do commercials as well. They've like specific cool commercials. And I'll give you an example. Carl's Jr., which is a huge brand over here, like a very famous burger, fast food, like hip fast food place, was doing a Super Bowl commercial. I don't know if you know what Super Bowl is. It's like
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest events in America.
Yeah.
So they're doing a Super Bowl commercial, Carl's Jr. And I was like, well, if I do it, I probably have to eat meat, right? So I can't do it. So I was like, well, if I can just say I'm not going to eat it. So I was like, if I don't do it, someone else is going to do it, and it's going to be a lot of money and crazy exposure. So I went to one of the animal rights activist groups that I work with, and I say, hey, I'm going to make at least 6 figures on this commercial. If I book it, do you guys want to do an anti-campaign with me? So I'll do it because someone is going to do it, and then we'll do an anti-campaign, take that money, and then we can really do some damage. I mean, I'll never work for them again, but who cares, right? So they agree. They
I
agree
love
to
this.
do it. So I show up on set, and there's like all these producers, they're flown in from all over, and we had to eat these burgers. And I was like, hey, if you really want to be cool, the new thing to do is Beyond Meat burgers. So I said that to the client, to Carl's Jr. Lo and behold, the commercial came out. I had, it's on my Instagram, and I did a Carl's Jr. I did the commercial, and it's a Beyond Meat burger that, they made the whole thing Beyond Meat because they thought it was so cool. So it's like sometimes it works in my favor, but a lot of times it's, I've been scared to get fired.
Mm.
It's always a very fine line, but I have to speak up.
Yeah.
Fire me, they have to fire me, but I have to speak up.
Well, I just want to quickly segue back before our next question, because you mentioned the Super Bowl, and of course, the Super Bowl is actually quite big here in Australia. Lots of people watch it. But I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, when the CEO from Oatly came out and he had an ad in the Super Bowl, and all it was him in the middle of a field playing this rinky-tink keyboard with a song going, wow, wow, look, no cow. And that was it. And it just went on and on and on. It was the most brilliant thing, and it was the most talked about ad in that Super Bowl. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see it. I wish I had
It's
seen
hilarious. It's so cool.
A few years ago, if you look back, there was like we were doing yoga, and then there's an old man, and I am like holding the burger, and I'm doing my yoga poses, and then there's an old man that takes a bite, and then all of a sudden his leg is up here, and he's doing like these completely contorted poses because he's getting the power of Carl's Junior's. Like it did well. It did well. Yeah.
That's so funny. I'm curious about the counter campaign as well. So did that actually go ahead?
No, because we didn't need to.
Yeah, because you had the Beyond Burger.
Yeah, I got to keep the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And you might work with them again one day.
Yeah, but that's so I try to be very strategic, because otherwise I say no to so many things.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times they have animals on set. People don't know about, part of being veganism is animals are not entertainment either. So there's a very fine line. Like, when do you say, no, I'm not going to be part of it? And when do you walk off set? And when do you, I've had it where they had like exotic birds on set when I was shooting in Mexico. And then I said, I just don't feel comfortable with these exotic birds. And they had stones attached to their legs so they couldn't walk, And I was just, again, I was like, hey, it's just not a good look for you guys. I don't feel comfortable. And they're like, well, can you just do one with the birds, because the birds are here? So we negotiated, and I did one take with the birds, and of course that was the take that they used, But so I try to be just so mindful, and it's very hard sometimes, and I get reprimanded for it, because it's like some vegans feel I'm not strict enough, but I feel like being a vegan, like what I had to work on was, it's not just for us because we already get it. It's for everyone else. I don't want to be the crazy person on set that throws a tantrum, the production stops, you know, hundreds of people on set, we're losing money, and I'm the crazy vegans who doesn't want to shoot because they're birds on set, you know. So it's like I try to be the voice of reason, and I try to do it. I feel like that I get further with that than
Yeah.
throwing tantrums and
It's
screaming. And
it's really hard to navigate, right? Because you've got to make a living, and this is your job, and it's not a vegan industry. And there's lots of people who are in a similar position. They don't work in a vegan industry, and you have to do the best that you can in those circumstances.
Well, I think the thing is, the bottom line is with veganism is we're trying to be as good as we possibly can in an imperfect world. So we don't control the world. If we control the world, none of this would be happening. So
exactly.
hopefully one day the vegans will control the world.
No, yeah, it's coming. People are getting sick. People are dying. It's happening, you know, slowly. Fastest growing movement, they say, is veganism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the right side of history for sure. I just wanted to continue about being vegan on set for a little bit. I was also curious about costumes or catering, that kind of thing on set, and how you navigate that.
It's, you know, it depends on where. And like I just did Death Stalker, and they had this incredible coat for me because I'm the head of the thieves and I live out in the woods with these swamp monsters, right? So they came with this crazy coat. And I went to wardrobe and I said, I can't wear a big fur coat. I'm vegan. So then she totally understood. It wasn't, you know, we didn't even need to discuss. There was like no problem. But I was shooting in Canada, you know, where I've done other places where I was Nordic goddess, and they had like one of those rugs, you know, with like it was like a bear on the floor or something. Where I
Yeah.
was like, I can't do that, and I'm not wearing Angora sweaters.
Yeah.
I'm not, you know. And then wardrobe went to, you know, the producers, and there was all this drama, and you know they all hated me, and it was like lots of drama. So it's like it depends on where you are and depends on what production. And if you go to Bulgaria and you say you're vegan, they give you fried cheese, they give you fish, they give you, because I mean a fish is not an animal, right?
Apparently, it's a
And
vegetable.
cheese is not an animal, you know. So it's like it is, or then they will give me veggies that's cooked in butter, you know. It's like it's yeah, it's I had to navigate. It depends on where you are in the world and who you're working with. It's all very different, but here in LA it's very easy
Yeah.
because so many of us.
Well,
That's one bright side.
I remember when I was in the States and I went up to Niagara Falls, and I'd walked across to Canada and I'd come back and I thought, I'm really hungry. I need to go and eat something. There was this huge, big food hall, and I thought, I'm bound to find something in there. And I'm walking around all the food stalls and I'm going, there's just no vegan food here. Like there's nothing I can eat. The only thing that I could find was deep fried vegetables. And so I thought, okay, and I talked to them and they said, no, it's not animal fat. It's everything was fine. But it was like a piece of carrot in this much batter. And it's like, oh, it's just the most disgusting thing I've ever eaten in my life.
Yeah,
funny.
no, I hear you. I hear
But
you.
I think I want to segue now because I want to take us into the animal rights activism sphere, because you're very vocal and very active in there, which is one of the things that actually first drew me to you before I actually knew you were an actress. So yeah, it was your animal activism that, you know, opened my eyes. But what made you realise that being vegan is not enough and that you needed to start speaking out?
Because I think it's a sin knowing there's a crime and you're not speaking up. I believe it's a violation. I believe it's a sin. I believe it's, you know, I can't look myself in the mirror in the morning and not speaking up. I think, and I do think we have to pay rent. Even if you're not a vegan, you have to pay rent on Earth. So whatever it is that you just got to do something, you got to pay rent, you got to contribute. So yeah, for me, again, it was never a choice because they're voiceless. We have to be their voice, and their screams and their images and the smells is what keeps me up at night. what keeps me up. I have to speak up. Yeah.
Yeah, I really feel that. You touched on doing undercover investigations, but I'm curious what other types of activism you've been involved in.
I mean, when I first started, I would do anything. I worked a lot with pit bulls from dog fighting, and I worked with a guy named Mark Chang, where he would get the dogs from China and then would find them home from the Yulin Dog Meat Festival. I worked with him for 7 years on that. I worked, on SeaWorld, lobbying for that. I worked with Last Chance for Animals on all the fur campaign. Fur Friday, I would go and march. I would volunteer every Sunday, Saturday, and Sunday, and the weekends in front of Whole Foods. We have Whole Foods, and we would stand there and try to find puppies' homes. I would just anything that I could, anything that I could do. I work with NARD, NARD, where I would do speaking engagements. I would stand with the animals, to honor, the animals, so a lot of times they have a day, they pick a day where they stand with these dead animals and just give them a proper burial. So I would do that. Anything. I'll do anything.
That's amazing. You've been involved in such a diverse range of activism formats and with, lots of different specific campaigns. I'm really curious about SeaWorld. I believe this what's it called? There's one in Miami that I believe has closed now, but the orcas are still there and they're looking to try and find a home for them. Is that correct?
Yes. It's been an ongoing problem. I haven't been involved lately because I've worked on, there's a whale called the spy whale that they're doing a documentary about, and I was brought in to do the music.
Nice.
And the spy whale was a whale that they found 7 years ago with a camera on top, a white whale. I don't know, that was in Norway, and a Russian camera on top of its head. And then this Norwegian woman was following the whale, trying to protect it, and it was just killed recently. So they did a beautiful documentary. So I've been working on that, on the music. So I haven't done too much of the SeaWorld. I know my friend Sean Monson, who did Earthlings, went and filmed a bunch of this stuff, and he worked on that campaign. So I felt like, okay, he's on it, and he's very thorough, and he's very vocal. So I kind of felt like, okay, and then I started, I worked with Sea Shepherd and those guys because there was a whole big drama there. They arrested the original captain. So I was very vocal about that and making calls and signing petitions. I spent a lot of time signing petitions. And I just try to do, every time I have free time, I just try to do something. Or like I just did a new thing. You're going to love. I just became a spokesperson for something called VDog, and that exists in Australia. And I actually just got all the information. So for the next year, I'm going to plug it everywhere I am. And it's a company that does vegan dog food, all organic. And it's called VDog because I was like, you're all about the humans, but what about the dogs? There's so many dogs with health problems and stuff, and it's so many dead animals. So that, I just try, anything. I'll do, sanctuaries. I worked with the way station, with those animals up there. There were chimps that was being tested on. I would volunteer up there. I would hold events to try to raise money for them. You have a dog in a hot car, you call Nina and I'll come and smash the car.
Sounds like me.
Remember I ride motorcycles, I can get in places too where other people can't get in. I'll do anything for those.
That's very cool.
You're so inspiring. Absolutely. Like nothing's going to stop you from speaking up for animals. I love that.
I need to actually just a quick segue because you mentioned Sean Monson, and with my work with Kangaroos Alive, we know Sean very well. Our co-founders know Sean extremely well. We got to get Sean on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
So
would be awesome.
he's brilliant. He's an amazing man.
I've been following the issue with the aquariums on social media, but yeah, I think we need to sort of touch on that in detail. So that would
absolutely.
be good. Yeah. Cool.
Now, you've done a TEDx talk. Oh, I can't say that properly. My brain's not working. So you've done a TEDx talk about your journey in vegan activism. What was that like? What was the audience response?
It was extremely positive. I had a live audience, but what you guys don't know is my talk was 10 minutes and it got cut down to 5. We had to cut it down to 5 because of TEDx. They wanted me back, so I think they want me to do another one. So I don't think it was TEDx. My feeling it was YouTube, but I was too controversial. And the guy that found me, Richard Green, who is also a vegan, who has been following my journey for a long time, said that this has never happened, and he has been a recruiter for 10 years for TED Talk, and this has never happened, and they just didn't like what I said. So yeah, I had to cut it down tremendously, and at first I was like, oh, like, and then I was like, I always go back to, why am I doing this? Am I doing it for me, or am I doing it for the animals, right? What would be best for the animals, to get my TED Talk cut in half or nothing? And I was like, Nina, get your ego in check and just do what they ask you to do and keep cutting it, and you'll get your message out however it's coming out. The most important thing is that you just, get the message out. But yeah, no, they cut it. There was a lot of things in there about health, of how I cured myself of cysts with my vegan diet, because I created a program, and I would talk about how I cured myself of disease with an alkaline vegan diet. And they did not want to hear that, because now we get into the pharmaceutical business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll drop a link to the TEDx talk in the show notes. So
Yeah,
people can watch it.
Yeah, it's still, still happy that I got to do it, and they invited me to do another one. So
good.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, you just mentioned your program there, so let's dive into that a little bit more. It's called Fierce and Vegan, so tell us all about that.
Well, it was, again, I was on the road, in a rock band touring. I would be an actor in all different parts of the world, and I had such a hard time for years finding out how to be a vegan, how to prepare, how to speak up, how not to deal with the pressure, all of those things. And I finally, after years and years, started to navigate it, and people would ask me, how do you do it? How do you stay fit? How do you stay healthy? I don't have time. I don't have a budget, or I'm already vegan, but I want to be fit, and I'm retaining water, and I don't know, and I don't have any money. And I was like, well, I didn't have any money at the time. I can't cook. I can prepare food. So I spent years creating a 12-step program, like 12 weeks, if you're super fast, you can do it in 12 weeks. But I created it, so it's workbooks, videos to follow along, and a whole bunch of homework. And then I created a little app called Nina, so you can have me in your back pocket. So if you have any questions, you can ask her, and you can literally have a conversation with her. And so it's a 12-step program. About, first you start with cleaning out your fridge, and then you have what to eat, and what I suggest is about cleaning out your fridge, cleaning out your body, and then slowly start introducing all the vegan food that are alkaline, and what works for you, and how to shop, and how to prepare, and how to travel, how to go to a restaurant and order, all of it, there's a whole chapter in the end about how to deal with peer pressure. There's a whole chapter about protein, because that's a big one. How do we get our protein? So I just put it all in there, and I made it for any age, anyone. So there's no excuse for animal abuse.
That's
amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to look into it, but yeah, we'll put a link. Is that what you were about to say?
Yeah, I was just about to say we'll put the link in the show notes so everyone can access it. But it sounds like such a comprehensive resource. So thank you so much for putting that together. I think it's something that so many people will get a lot of value from. I
like the idea of having Nina in your back pocket.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Actually, it started with, I work with a company called VetPaw, and they're in South Africa, and they protect rhinos and elephants and the wildlife. And my friend who created it, Mark, he passed away suddenly. And there was a lot of things that he didn't get to do, but at least he had Vedpa to leave behind. And I was like, Nina, if you die within 2 weeks, what are you leaving behind? And I'm
Mm.
like, and then that just kicked my butt to, because there's a lot. I mean, to build a masterclass is like, it's like a whole program. And I mean, it was like completely overwhelming, and I wanted to quit. And, as a person with dyslexia and a foreigner, and I mean, there was all the excuses in the book, right? So I have a whole program in there too about how to deal with that. There's a whole thing about, because we always have an excuse, even as vegans, we always have an excuse.
Yeah. I think it's just human nature to want to take the easy road, the path of least resistance.
But also there's
yeah.
that thing about you're working on a project. This is kind of like my problem. I'm the great procrastinator. Nobody procrastinates better than me. So I will get a whole thing happening and get it all sorted, and then I'll go, do I really want to put it out into the world? Maybe I'll do it later. And then stuff never gets put out. So that's something I'm working to get over.
I think you need to, it's all in the program too. And that, for me, I had to really find the why. Why am I doing this? Is it because I want my own program? No. Is it because, I really, at every time I started, I was like, Nina, you can die in 2 weeks. And then what? And then you take all of that knowledge with you and no one will ever know. So it was like one of those, I was like, if you have to sit and cry, scream, kick yourself, I mean, there's only one way, and that's through it, right? There's only one way, and that's through, and I would just sit there like, you know what I mean? But there's not here's how you create a masterclass on veganism, because, I started looking up who are the women out there who are doing masterclasses on veganism programs. And there's this. There's men out there. There's Rich Roll, who has a whole thing. There's other people but women, with fitness and there was nothing. So it was very, I just kept focusing on the why. Why are you doing it? I was like, it's not for you, Nina, it's for the animals. You know what I mean? Even if you go and there's people out there that are like, oh, I don't have money. It's very easy to follow. I made it very reasonable, so everyone can afford it. I just kept focusing on that.
That's really cool, because also, the thing about pushing through, getting it done, you're also leaving a legacy. So you're leaving something for other activists in the future. And, God forbid, we never want people to die. But if something did happen, you have left that legacy behind for others to pick up and move on with, which is just, I mean, that's just awesome. I love that sort of feeling. But in saying that, as activists, we're often exposed to the worst of the worst. We see confronting realities, things that, humans should never have to witness. Having been a person who hit burnout really badly, I'd love to know what your process is, doing all this without burning out.
Yeah, I mean, I burned out. I totally burned out. I had to hit my bottom. I sang in a hard rock band. I had a black mohawk. I wrote a song, I Hate Everything, because I hated everything. I was so angry. I was a boxer. That's how I was making money too on the side. And I just lost faith in humankind. I just was so angry. And so I had to hit my bottom. That's why. And now, I just, again, it's I have a whole chapter on that, on self-care, because if you don't take care of yourself, you cannot be good to anyone else. And that was a really hard thing for me, because I was like, well, they're out there. I hear them in the slaughterhouses. I would go there with Sean Monson. We would do LA Saves, where we'd go in front of the slaughterhouses, 10,000 pigs a day. We'll film the pigs inside the trucks right before they would go into the slaughterhouse. And we shut down St. John's slaughterhouse downtown, which was 10,000 pigs a day. And I would just watch these pigs, 6 months old, 3 times as big. Some of them were already dead because they would drive from Arizona, like a long, hot drive. And I was just so angry. I was so confused and all that stuff. And then when I hit my bottom, I realized I got to take care of myself first. So now I give from the overflow, and I had to really be honest about what I could and what I could not do. Like, how was I most, because Sean says this. He goes, Nina, they don't need your tears. They need your action. I mean, they don't need us to cry and be upset or be angry. They just need us to take action. And I was like, how am I most useful? By saving one dog at a time, doing all this stuff. And my mentor, she said, Nina, I want you to stop doing activism for a while. And I did. And she's like, how can you do more? And I was like, well, by building up my career and by doing Fierce and Vegan. And she's like, why don't you do that? Focus on your career and build up Fierce and Vegan. So I did. I would do little things here and there, but I would focus on my career. And then I was like, what is that? What do I have that what do I have that I can give? And I was like, well, I'm not good at, there's a lot of things I'm not good at, but I'm good at like people, doing the movies, and people are like, how do you stay so fit? And I'm good at being a spokesperson. I just did with Jane Mitchell. I just hosted a vegan food show called New Day, New Chef. Yeah, so we have all these celebrities come in and cook for us, and I was like, you're really good at camera, you have good personality, and you have discipline, and you have all these things you can offer. So I got really honest about what I could do, and then I just give from the overflow. I don't burn myself out anymore, and that
That's
has been
amazing.
the hardest. Yeah,
Yeah.
they call me all the time, Nina, the dog is on death row, it's dying. And I was like, well, I know alone in this shelter, next week there's going to be 30 of them that's going to be euthanized. And I'm like, well, there's, in the slaughterhouse, just 45 minutes away, there's 10,000 more that gets, it's like, I just can't do it all. I can't. And in order to make a difference, it's attraction, not promotion. So I can't force people to do it. All I can do is just set my boundaries. I do my part, and then I just do the best I can, and then just trust that that's good enough.
Well, I think that's something that with burnout, and this is what happened to me back in 2020. I'm well over that now, but you want to do everything. You want to be 24/7 on the ball every time something happens. I used to run an animal rescue up there, and I was on call 24/7. So the phone would ring at 3 a.m. I'd just get up and go and do the rescue, and you just don't stop. But then you go, is it enough? Is it enough? Is it enough? I don't think it's enough. And then bang, you hit rock bottom.
Because there's always going to be more animals that need saving.
Yeah, and you can only do so much.
But it's the hardest realization that you can't save them all, even though you want to. It's so hard.
This one is an amazing cat rescuer, but she was rescuing cats, and she still feeds a colony.
Yeah.
But yeah, she had to call, I can't do more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good for you. Yeah, because it's like you can only get from the overflow, and we're not gonna be good in the long run. And it's better, I think, to be less and consistent than these burnouts where we go in 100% and then we need X amount of time to recover, and then it's not healthy. It's not good it's just not good for anyone. So it's a very hard lesson to learn. Again, I have a whole chapter dedicated to that in Fierce and Vegan, because that was the hardest one. And I finally let it go, where it's like I for me it was an ego thing, because I could do it. I knew I could do it. I could, where I was like, Nina, you can't. You can't. And why do you need to put on that Superman cape all the time? It's like, it's an ego thing. I just couldn't say I can't. I couldn't say those words. I was just always there killing myself, doing the stupid, crazy things I've done, where, it's amazed that I'm not killed in jail, and, it's just...
I think there's a lot of parallels between yours and my life. So, yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, well, I think it's so inspiring that you've been able to find that balance and also share your experience in the course, and so that other people can learn from that and take that on board. So thank you so much for channeling your energy in that way. You touched on sometimes feeling overwhelmed or really angry. So how do you channel that anger productively?
Oh, well, I have all these exercises. Like, I have a whole list of what I can do, what I feel is when I see, this is the hard part. Can be very confusing. When you get busy, you get better. So for me, just sitting and thinking about it is not going to do anything. So I like pen to paper. What are three things that I can do, and why do I want to? Why, like a lot of times when I focus on all these other things, it's because maybe I don't want to finish Fierce and Vegan because it's just me by myself, and I have to sit and learn coding to upload my whatever. So most of the time when I have when I don't want, when that happens, is because I'm avoiding something. So that's like, so I do a lot of writing where I just write to get to the bottom of it. And then I would write down three things. I have three things that I can do. And then I lower the bar. So I was like, okay, if there's three things I can do today that I must, and then I cancel all the other things. So I was like, Nina, if just three things, the most important things, okay, you have to make that call, you have to go to this meeting, and I have to like work out, otherwise I'm going to lose my mind. Like, so, and then I just lower the bar. I just lower the bar, you know, and I listen. I just really listen. And it's okay to say no, and it's okay to change your mind, and it's okay to call up your girlfriends and be like, I'm sorry, I can't make it. I'm just too damn exhausted. And I'm a people pleaser. And what happens is when you stop people pleasing, people won't be pleased. And then when there's like animal lives involved, it's like a whole other level, like, sorry, dog, you're gonna go to sleep and I can't save you. It's like, but it was never mine in the first place to save all these dogs. I just do what I can.
Yeah.
And for me to sleep a few hours extra is going to give me so much more energy to go and do bigger things. And that's very hard to understand when people are calling and they have a bird, they have a cat, and you used to be the call and you be there in a second. Or a
Yeah.
horse or something. Oh, it's like I would drive, spend half a day driving and saving one dog, and spend my whole day on one dog.
It's amazing what you cram in, because you say, you lower the bar, but that bar is still probably so much higher than everybody else's bar with all the stuff that you cram in. But this actually I really like as well, because being a musician since I was a kid, you're also a singer and a songwriter. So I'm curious to see how you use that medium for self-care, or even for activism, and also balancing your emotions.
Oh, I mean, I spent years just screaming it out. I mean, I had so much. I mean, I was like, I was, Trent Reznor was my Nine Inch Nails was my jam. And I mean, I remember I had a doll that I would destroy on stage, this life-size doll. I mean, I was just angry, and I was just, you guys are laughing. I was like,
Oh,
I can't imagine you like.
I used to play in a punk band many, many, many moons ago, and yeah, it just brings me right back to
yeah,
to
I mean, I
stuff.
needed to scream it out. I think if I didn't have my music, I wouldn't be here. If I didn't, and people that walked the path before me, if I didn't have my music, I wouldn't be here, because it would have been living inside of me, and I would have been sick. So I needed an outlet, and so I used it. I sang about it. My dad was always like, "Hey, why don't you want to be like Kylie Minogue and you can have a much bigger career?" And I was like, "Dad, you don't understand. I'm not doing this to be Kylie Minogue," because that's my dad's favorite, right? I'm doing this because I need to scream it out.
Yeah.
You know, I need to jump around in front of an amp and a huge drum set and just get it all out and sing about it, and sit at home by myself on the piano and cry it all out while I write those songs.
Well, I
Yeah.
remember seeing Moby's movie, the punk rock vegan movie, and he talks about, and this is something I never knew, and it probably never really happened in Australia, where the animal rights movement, a lot of the early punk rockers were very much into the animal rights movement, which I never knew. And so that movie was great. And then you just see some of these guys talking in the movie, and you just go, wow, I would never have picked you as being vegan. And then Derek Green from, I can never pronounce the band name, Sepultura. Amazing man. He's this huge African-American man. He's got the deepest voice ever. And he is the most gentle, loving person. But when you see him on stage, oh no.
Yeah, but I mean, that's how it is. The harder the music, the nicer the people. And then when you sing with little pop divas, there's attitude, but the heavier Norwegian, heavy metal, screamo. I mean, they're the nicest guys.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing your music, and I'll be looking more into that, but also in the film that's coming
Yes,
up. So
yes,
that'll be cool.
yeah, yeah. That's
Amazing.
very cool. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask more of a reflective question. If you could go back and speak to the Nina who was just starting her vegan journey, what is one thing that you would say to her?
Yeah, I would just say, don't listen to what all the haters say. Number one, because it was very hard. I felt so as an outsider. And then number two is you can't save them all, because I mean, that was my hardest thing. I was just up at night, and I spent so much of my childhood worrying about animals, and my whole youth just so much fear and worry. And it was just a waste of energy, but I didn't know how to, I thought for some reason, all that fear and worry, I think I was, some people would drink, I would take a think instead of a drink.
Yeah.
I like that. A think instead of a drink. That's really cool.
Yeah, that was my drug of choice.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I could do this, but then if I do this, and then if I do that, and maybe I should do this, but if I do this, you know what I mean? And beat myself up harder, work harder, work smarter, more, instead of just easy does it, lower the bar, do 3 things, you're doing great, just keep going, I didn't have that.
That more gentle, encouraging self-talk.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense that talk is actually going to make you more successful. It feels, it's complete contrary action, where I was like, more, harder, smarter, more, no gain, no pain, no gain, just like, that's how we're taught.
That's really great advice for anybody listening in. And I think, just you can't do everything. And I think that's the bottom line. And ignore the haters, ignore the trolls. Just go on doing what you're doing is the way forward. But moving into the now, you've got a brand new movie just released today, which when this episode comes out, it'll be like next week. But is there anything exciting that you're now working on at the moment? And what should we be keeping an eye out for?
Okay, so in mid-April, I have, it's going to be in PBS, and it's going to be on Unchained TV. It's Jane Mitchell's. I don't know if you know about that.
Yeah.
It's a
Yes.
station. So I did that cooking show with her. I did 8 episodes, me and Jane. So I hosted it. So that one was very fun, and we'll be doing more. That's going to come out. That is vegan. I'll be doing a lot of stuff for V-Dog. I'm going to convert everyone's dog to eat vegan. No, attraction, not promotion, but I'm going to talk about it. And then I have a couple of movies that I would love to talk about. And one in particular, I have a meeting on it on Tuesday. And because I've been doing a lot of writing and producing on the side, and I've been, directing shorts. My dad is a professor at the Danish film school. I directed my first thing when I was like 7. And I directed all my music videos. So I'm actually directing my first movie at the end of this year, full feature. And then I'm producing 2 other movies. One that is one I've been worked on for over a decade. That's an animal rights activist movie.
Cool.
With some of my stuff in there. Yeah. So it's all like hidden underneath, because we can't shove it down people's throat. So so I have my one that I'm shooting at the end of this year that's about adrenaline junkies, based on a true story. So, I can only do what I know, right? I can only write about what I know. And then the other one, the animal rights activist movie, is more like a darker, like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo meets 7. But I'm not directing it. I'm just acting in it, and I was the creator of it. So I have those projects, and as soon as I can talk about it, I'll talk about it like crazy. And then I have one in Thailand in the end of September, and that one they haven't released yet either, announced. So so it's like so much very exciting stuff coming out, and it sucks because some of the most exciting stuff I can't talk about.
Well, I think we might have to revisit once you get, especially with that animal rights movie coming out. I think
that one
we
has
need to
been
revisit.
a long time coming. I wrote it so many times. I had so many people involved. But it wasn't right, because it's very difficult with animal rights, because we can't be preachy. That's what I've learned in my world of doing being a vegan and outspoken is as soon as I start being preachy, people back off. So it's attraction, not promotion. So I finally found the balance with that movie, and I think there's a beautiful balance there where I feel that a lot of animal rights activists is just too much, where the normies, it's too much. They feel they're being preached at, and it has the opposite effect.
I like that term, the normies.
Yeah, the normies. Hopefully
well.
we will be the normies. I mean, I think we are the normies.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we'll put your Instagram in the show notes so everyone can follow, because I'm sure you'll announce all of the movies and all of the things you're working on Instagram, so we can all keep an eye out for things there.
Oh, Nina, this has been just an absolutely wonderful episode. I can't thank you enough for having you on. It's something I've talked about for a little while, so thank you so much for being with us today.
Well, it's my pleasure. It's been so much fun, and to get to meet you. And then when I come to Australia to visit my sister, I have to come and say hi.
You have to come down to Sydney, and we will take you to some of the good vegan places down here.
Yeah.
That would be lovely. Thank you so much. You just have so much wisdom to share, and your personality is so positive and light, and it's just a beautiful channel to get that message out there for the animals. So thank you so much for everything that you do. We really appreciate your time chatting with us today.
Thank you. Yeah, it was wonderful. Wonderful meeting you.
Thank you.
Folks, this brings us to the end of just an amazing episode with the wonderful Nina. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, please let us know by leaving a comment and share this episode with a friend.